Hi, this is Pat Johnson, your psychology instructor, and in this mini lecture we're going to continue our discussion of personality by talking about Carl Rogers and his concept of unconditional positive regard. Carl Rogers was a humanist who lived during the last century, and as part of the humanistic movement, he believed in self-determination and self-realization. So very much unlike Freud, he was not trying to cure clients by putting them on a couch and having them talk about their parents. He allowed the clients to really take the therapy in any direction that they wanted. Carl Rogers didn't even call his clients patients, they were clients, because he believed that at the core they were basically healthy people who needed to decide on their own what direction their life would take. Carl Rogers used various techniques with his clients. Let's discuss those now. His therapy was called person-centered therapy, so he focused on the client, the person, meeting his or her own needs. And he did this through the behaviors, the therapeutic behaviors of genuineness. And by genuineness, he meant that he was very real with the client, that he would not fake how he felt about the client. He would be very upfront and open, caring, but he would always be truthful to the client. He also showed a lot of empathy towards the client. Empathy, not sympathy, but empathy. In other words, trying to see the world through the client's eyes. What he's most famous for, though, is his concept of unconditional positive regard. Unconditional positive regards means total acceptance of that person. You don't have to like everything they do, but that every person has value and need to be accepted. Rogers said that for some of us, when we're growing up, conditions are placed on our worth. In other words, we received either explicitly or implicitly messages such as, I will love you if, like I will love you if you get good grades, or I will love you if you make the team, or I will love you if you make a lot of money. But Rogers said we don't need conditions placed on us. What we need is unconditional positive regard. In other words, love without any strings attached. So here's a quote from Carl Rogers. He said, "In my early professional years, I was asking the question, how can I treat or cure or change this person? Now I would phrase the question in this way, how can I provide a relationship which this person may use for his or her own personal growth?" Rogers and the other humanists have been criticized. Their theories are not widely used now. You're more likely to see cognitive behavioral therapy going on and cognitive behavioral theories. So while the humanistic perspective of personality really was in its heydays in the 60s and 70s of the last century, there are some criticisms. First of all, it's very vague, and it was based on Rogers and the other humanists' opinions. They didn't test this at all. It also could lead to self-indulgence and a lack of morals. This sense of everything about you is okay can be very self-indulgent and cause people to do things that they shouldn't be doing. So it fails to acknowledge that people can act in evil ways and that everything is not okay. But that's Carl Rogers, very famous personality theorist, most famous for his concept of unconditional positive regard, valuing the client no matter what.